Hello.
Hello. What's good, everyone?
Hi, everybody.
As I take a sip of my Zesty energy drink. Welcome to another episode of Neptune Sunday. I don't know if you can hear the excitement in our energy and our voices right now. Vogue and I are in the same room for the first time recording an episode together in person. For the first time in a year and a half. Episode number 28. This is wild.
I'm really excited.
It's good to see you in person, kid.
It's good to see you. I see you like once every 2 years, so I'm like really excited.
Man, a lot going on. So, backstory. Let's paint the scene. We're here in Philadelphia where I live. Vogue is here visiting my cousin, my sister Rachel, who is the reason why me and Vogue even know each other.
Correct.
And yeah.
You guys have her to thank for this podcast even existing. Do you want to say hi, Rachel?
Oh, hello.
It legitimately is her fault that we are doing this. Yeah. So, thank you.
Thank her, write her a letter saying like, what have you done, whichever you prefer.
All right, cool. So, a lot to get into. Obviously, this is our wrap-up of the year episode. It's been a wild 2022 for a lot of reasons in general, but specifically in the world and the universe of Pharrell and Chad and Neptunes. So first off, I want to start the episode by saying RIP to Vaughan, Hilton, big giant in the music industry, manager of a lot of your favorite rappers, who passed away last month. Vaughan actually got a shout out from us on the podcast back in episode 2 because we had a shared love for the Carters' Everything Is Love album. And so just wanted to give a shout out to him. I know when he passed away, there was a lot of people in the music industry that we saw on Twitter and across the music world in general that were really shaken by his sudden passing on Thanksgiving, around the Thanksgiving time. So I just want to show him love. I know there's a lot of people out there in the music space that hopefully you listen to this podcast and understand what Vaughan meant to the culture. So RIP, rest in paradise to my man Vaughan. So now let's get into it, Neptunes wise. My man P was busy this year, Bo.
Yeah, it's, I feel like I say this a lot on the podcast, but like, it is so refreshing to see somebody who's been in the industry as long as he has be so involved in the way that he is. I don't feel like, for a lot of people who are industry veterans, they feel like they're out of reach or like disconnected from what's going on, but I feel like he's very connected to bringing on new people, bringing on new ideas. Like, it's really kind of a joy to experience as a fan.
Yeah, so let's start off with Jupiter, which was P kind of letting go of his old self in a lot of different ways. I thought it was really dope to see a lot of those pieces that had been such a big part of his impact into the culture from a fashion standpoint. The solid gold Blackberry, all of the Jacob chains, like a lot of the stuff that's in the Pharrell books that he put out, The Places and Spaces, and the one about the fish. I can't think of the name of it right now. But overall, I thought that was dope just to see and relive some of those moments, that those specific pieces that really were wearable art.
Yeah. I don't think and there's mention of it, I don't know that I think he gets the credit that he deserves for being influential on a visual fashion level.
Right.
Like, obviously, we connect him with like BBC and he has a Human Race line of stuff now, but he's been a really important figure, and I think it goes back to a conversation we have all the time about like, he's not like super flashy, super like, oh look what I have, but he has an impact in that way. Right. So it's very cool. So
my favorite part of the whole Jupiter thing was obviously seeing a lot of his, people we refer to as Pharrell's kids be involved in that, and like Kid Cudi actually I think bought one of the nerd chains, but P had a quote which I thought was very quintessential of the moment and the whole reason why Jupiter existed. He said, "My presence walked around my past while knowing what's coming in the future." I'm like, come on, bro. Like that's classic Pharrell shit right there. But I thought that was dope perspective of what Jupiter was and what Jupiter means to him. Why are you looking at me like that? He's saying that he was present in the Jupiter like gallery, walking around looking at all this old shit that he used to own. That's his past, but he's knowing what's coming in the future. It's just okay.
Pharrell's a little bit above me, so I respect it.
My man is in a different space. So then we'll get into something in the water. Obviously, we talked about that on talked about the preview of it on episode 14 and talked about the wrap of it on episode 17.
Yeah.
Which was a wild time in that space in June. They actually had the Songwriters Hall of Fame induction literally the Thursday before the festival started, and then flew down to DC to get the festival kicked off. For me, and we talked in depth about this, the whole thing. I thought it was dope. It being in DC, the Other Tone episode where they had the Go-Go folks on there, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
That was very important to the culture and really showing it's not just about us coming to DC and having our festival here and then leaving. It was like actually showing and highlighting the impact of go-go music and DC music. But also, too, for people that don't necessarily realize how much there's a go-go influence in some of their music, like Finna Get Loose and Hot in Here are both directly inspired by Chuck Brown's Bustin' Loose in a couple of different ways. Obviously, Finna Get Loose has loose in the title, first of all, but then it's just like there's similar instrumentation in both of those songs, interpolation of some of the lyrics that are cool nods to Chuck Brown and Bustin' Loose, and it was cool to hear him do those two songs at the festival as well.
Yeah, I think when we first started talking about like the conceptualization of Something in the Water being in DC, I had a lot of reservations because I thought what was special about it being in Virginia was like the connection to Pharrell and the roots of that. But I feel like you found a really good way to tie it to the history of the city, the history of like the music in the city that is kind of like doesn't get its respect. I think go-go is either overlooked or people don't really appreciate it. I've heard before it sounds like noise, so pots and pans. So I really appreciated him bringing that to light. We forgive Justin Timberlake for beating his feet on that stage or whatever it is that he caught himself doing.
Yeah, Justin, I don't know if you saw that. Justin was at something with, I can't remember the guy, Adam Blackstone maybe this week, and he like was dancing with him, and it looked so much more coordinated. Yeah. And I felt better. I felt like he redeemed himself, but the beat your feet thing was out of pocket.
He was trying to show respect. I'll take it for what it is.
We will appreciate the nod.
We come down pretty hard on Justin, like as a community, so I'm gonna give him his flowers for that.
Justin, what a guy. Other highlight of that, Something in the Water, obviously the Clips being back on stage for the first time in a while. In addition to that, they also performed together at the BET Hip Hop Awards and then again at Complex Con, which was crazy. There was a whole panel with, I think, Family, my guy Andrew Barber from Fake Shore Drive, and the Clips, and Stephen Victor at Complex Con just talking about the history of Laura Willing, which was dope. One of the nuggets from that was P revealing that all the Hell Hath No Fury beats were from the Jay-Z folder, and he stole them from P, and they should have been on Kingdom Come, which is like, I don't claim to know the ins and outs of the music business, but who allowed Jay-Z to choose the records and the beats that he did for Kingdom Come instead of those? Like, Anything You Want Girl gets a lot of flack on this show as being arguably the worst of the Pharrell Jay-Z collaborations. There are so many better Pharrell beats, Neptunes beats on Hell Hath No Fury that Jay-Z had. Apparently had options to choose and for some reason did not. But
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't remember a single song from Kingdom Come. And I think that's why. I think that, like, the decision-making process didn't pan out. But he's okay. He's doing fine.
Yeah. So, Something in the Water coming back to 757, which is great. Everyone's excited about that. P announced that at the Mighty Dream Forum in Norfolk. Yeah, Key, we got the tickets already. It's happening. We're going. It's done. Like, we bought the tickets the first week. Thank you, Key. Key's standing right here, too. But, yeah. So, you gotta get on it, man. Like,
I'll work it out.
Speaking of that, I mean, this week it actually got announced that the city is giving like $3 million to Pharrell's cousin's family as part of the settlement for him being killed by police. I guess that was 2 years ago, maybe. So all that, like, glad that situation is finally coming to a resolution, as well as Something in the Water going back to 757, just wrapping that whole nasty, toxic conversation up. So
yeah, happy
for that to be settled. Happy for P and his family.
Yeah, you can never bring them back, but giving them the peace of mind in that way, I feel like is a good step forward. For sure. So now that we've got all of the current events out of the way, let's talk about the music. All right, Vogue. This year, Pharrell was so active this year.
He a lot of shit came out. So just to run off the list for all of you guys who may or may not have been paying attention, Obviously, Cash In, Cash Out was big with Tyler and 21 Savage. A couple of Rosalia joints. Half the production on Pusha T's It's Almost Dry. Kendrick, Mr. Morale. Lotto, Real One. There's a couple tracks on I Know Nego. Toby, Lord Forgive Me. Jack Harlow, Movie Star. Travis Down Atlanta, which I actually am a fan of.
That's a really good song.
And my man Omar Apollo, the Tamagotchi drum, which I think is dope. Omar going on tour with SZA.
Yeah, I saw that. I want tickets.
So I'm interested to know why Hit Different didn't make the album. But I guess they technically get credit for there's a snippet of Hit Different that's on the song Love Language on the SZA album. So technically that counts.
It does count. I mean, I can get to a critique of that album, but that's a different podcast. Don't get me started. I have some words for her. But I think that Hit Different was so impactful on its own.
Right.
It kind of like, you didn't need to throw it in with like what she had going on. Because like it was thematic.
Right.
So I get why they may have left it off. Do you have a favorite out of those songs?
Well, also, let me say, Hit Different also came out like 5 years ago.
It wasn't this year?
No, Hit Different came out in like 2020. Yes, that was a long time ago. But
It's not 2020 now? Wait, what year?
what is happening? What is happening, girl?
Look, man.
Okay, so what's my favorite out of the 2022 releases? I mean, I really liked. Here, I'll throw a wrench in it, right? I really, really liked Jack Harlow, Movie Star, more than I should. I thought that was really good. I really like Down in Atlanta. I think people hate on that because I think anytime you have big names get together on a song, people expect it to be the best song ever made.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, like it's a good song.
No, I think it's a solid
It's
song.
a good song. But I'd say if I have to pick a favorite, it's definitely got to be something from It's Almost Dry. So let's just say Neck and Risk. There you go.
Sure. Okay. I'll buy that.
Jay-Z. Gotta give love to Jay-Z wherever I can on this show.
Well, true to me, I'm going to go with the song that has Tyler on it.
Mm-hmm.
Cash In, Cash Out. That's a good song.
It's a really good song.
I feel like it did really well. I also was a really big fan of Tamagotchi.
Tamagotchi's a really good song,
wish more
too.
people knew it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those are my two favorites. I wasn't really I listened to the Rosalia tracks, wasn't really crazy. I kind of don't get her thing. But I just always love hearing P do stuff that's like, quote unquote, non-hip-hop.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Omar Apollo joint is really dope.
Yeah.
So another huge part of 2022 in terms of the Neptunes universe is 2002, 20 years ago, there was a ton of anniversaries of 20-year anniversaries of songs that were part of their incredible run from basically 2001 to 2002. So looking up some information from this year or from that year, there was 22 songs that charted top 40 on Billboard in 2002.
Is that like normal for a producer to release that many songs?
No. What I'm saying is out of all of the songs that released ever, there was 22 songs that charted in top 40 on Billboard, but 7 of them were produced by Neptune.
Gotcha.
So 7 out of 22 like that hit the top 40. Like that's crazy. Like
I mean, that's still impressive.
That's very impressive.
I maintain my question. Is that normal for a producer?
No, of course it's not normal. These guys aren't normal. No way. So, thinking back, this is a difficult question. Top 3 songs from 2002 that we celebrated this year. A 20-year anniversary.
I plead the fifth. I can't answer this question.
It's an easy question, Bo.
No, it's not. First of all, Beautiful is one of the best songs of all time.
Mm-hmm.
If you give me a top 5 of all the songs I've ever heard in my life, it's top 5. But like, it's really hard not to put like the whole Justified album on there. So like stuff like that. And then also I really loved, I don't like the sound of your voice right now. I really love You Better.
Mm-hmm.
I also, I'm a big Nori fan.
Right.
Really big fan of Nothing. Okay, those are my 3.
Yeah. Okay.
But I feel
so
like
what is your
it's
3?
short-sighted.
Go say it again.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Love You Better.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Okay. Yeah, Nothing is a big record. Shout out to my man Armani White. He's a Philly kid. He's blowing up off his song Billie Eilish, which actually samples Nothing.
It's really good.
Like, I really like that song, and I think that it's really dope to see the love he's gotten from Nori, right? Nori's going to be on a remix that they performed at the Hip Hop Awards, which was dope. But it's crazy to me. It's a perfect example of where we are in the world of music right now. Like, it blew up on TikTok. And it literally is less than 2 minutes long. Like, it literally is the formula of how you're going to break a hit record in 2022. Make sure it's TikTok friendly and make sure it's short as shit. Yeah. So people can listen to it quickly and listen to it a bunch of times. If I got to pick 3 from 2002, I mean, you know, what haven't we mentioned? I mean, Scarface had that Someday joint, which I think is not a favorite, but it's an underrated deep cut. Mm-hmm. Could pick something from Blueprint 2. Shout out my man Frazier for that episode. It was really dope in that episode to have Frazier talk about how the whole album is basically a Nas diss. Like, that was hilarious.
What a time to be alive.
Right. I think if I got to pick 3 from 2002, I got to pick a song from Lord Willin', so I'm going to go with Virginia. And then I'm going to pick one from the Blueprint 2, so I'm going to go Excuse Me, Miss.
Okay, absolutely.
And then can't talk about 2002 Clips Pharrell without saying What Happened to That Boy.
Yeah, fair. It's just like, even when I hear your songs, I'm like, I sound crazy because it's hard to pick just
There's
3.
so many songs.
It was just such a good year, and like living through it, it was honestly some shit we had never heard before.
Crazy. I mean, the second version of In Search Of came out in 2002. I mean, shit, Hot in Here on Nellyville was crazy that year. Talked About Beautiful, also had Church to the Palace on that album. Common, Electric Circus, like, Come Close is such a beautiful ass song. Like, I was watching the video. The anniversary of that was last week.
That's a good video.
Like, I don't know if it's because I'm getting old or because, like, I'm settled in love. Like, that, like, it made me tear up. Like,
That's
I was
beautiful.
actually, like,
That's
emotional
really
watching that video. For those of you who haven't seen the video,
right
for those of you who haven't seen that video, go watch it. Like, I don't want to ruin the surprise, but it's very, like, if you think about at that point in 2002, like, that was some pretty intense, like, in a good way, shit. So, shout out to Common.
It's 20 years ago, so if there's still a surprise there, I'm a little concerned.
I mean, there may be some young people that listen to this that have never heard it or seen it.
You know what? Fair. That is fair.
No spoilers. No spoilers on Neptune Sunday. So, looking into 2023, obviously, let's start with the milestone. So, man, shout out to my boy, Patrick Pryor, another former guest, production duo, Tokyo Ave Sound, my guy. So he saw that one of the Neptunes, Star Trek, what's the word I'm looking for? What's the show on TV One? It's like not Undisputed, but like Unsung, yes. So Patrick Pryor saw that one of the Star Trek unsung heroes of the movement, Tammy Lucas, was posting demos from 1993, which would be 30 years ago next year, 2023, on YouTube. And he was like, yo, go check these out. So he sent them to me. First of all, Tammy Lucas's voice was crazy. Like, she deserves mad flowers. Like, people probably recognize her most from her part on Super Thug, which is dope. But, you know, just listen to some of them. Like, it's very early developmental Neptune sound. I think that, you know, there's a demo from Use Your Heart on there, which was crazy to hear her version of that.
Wow. So
it was cool to just listen to some of those, to hear P still rapping and being referred to as Magnum the Verb Lord, which was wild. But that just shows 30 years ago that these guys were like really getting started and really having success. And so that'll be a cool thing to see what happens next year, 30 years of them doing work and working with Teddy Riley and those guys. Yeah. 20 years next year in 2023 of Clones, Black Album, and then Your Girl. Tasty.
I gotta say, these 3 albums specifically are like fundamental to my musical taste in general. Tasty was such an important album for me. I listened to the Black Album every morning before school that year, which I thought this one I really got into rap, so I thought I was so cool. I was like, I listen to Black Album every morning. So I just feel like they all like really stay with me. I've gone back and listened to, I think, all 3 of those albums this year, and they're really solid still. So I'm excited to like kind of dig in and talk about the process and look back on what those sounds were like.
Yeah, Tasty, obviously everyone knows Milkshake from Tasty, but the other Neptune joint on there that I really like is maybe Protect Your Heart. Protect My Heart. That's a really good one. Shout out to Khalees. I'm not gonna get into any more Khalees. Just all love. Shout out to Khalees.
She's mother. We love her.
What else? 15 years for Seeing Sounds, which is dope. 15 years for Common's Universal Mind Control, which has some really underrated joints on there. So 10 years, 2013 is what I like. People have referred to as Pharrell's resurgence year, which is the Blurred Line year, the Daft Punk collabs, like Sweet Life from my man Frank Ocean. So it'd be cool to talk about some of those songs from 10 years ago. And then, of course, 5-year anniversary for the one and only, the Man of the Woods.
You didn't have to introduce it like that.
So just be prepared. We've talked about this on a couple of different episodes. Shout out to Aisha for calling us out and making us talk about how we've slept on this album. But in 2023, you will get your analysis, your discourse on Justin Timberlake's The Man of the Woods album. Finally.
I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen to the album. I make no promises on how much I'm going to like it. I may go back to sleep.
Nah, man. It's some joints on there. I can admit it. I can admit that I revisited it enough to feel confident that it's not as bad as we initially made it out to be.
Okay. I trust your taste, so.
Yeah. So the other elephants in the room for 2023, though. First off, is the Clips reunion album coming? If you ask me, I'm telling you it's definitely coming.
Yeah.
But who am I? I'm just a guy with a podcast, and I don't know for sure, but I have a good hunch. So
we're music fans. You can kind of see the tide, the way that the waves are turning. I feel pretty positive about it.
It's gotta happen. The marketing person in me doesn't understand why it didn't happen already. Yeah. Because you want it to happen. I guess maybe the plan is you do all these reunions 20 years after Lord Willing, and you do the album 2023. Okay, cool, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But my man, so Clips collaborator Ab Laba from Philly posted on his Instagram maybe a couple months ago that he was in Virginia Beach, and I was like, see, that's it. Yeah. He's down there. He's on the album. They're working on it. It's happening. Yeah. That confirmed it for me, but we will see.
I feel really strongly positive. No Malice coming back. All the pieces are in alignment for it to happen. I think it would be a wasted opportunity for it not to.
So then the other elephant is this Friends album, Friends with a PH, that
of course
Pharrell alluded to in his interview on Rolling Stone with. So is his name I don't know BTS at all. I feel bad. Do you know BTS?
I mean, I was hoping you were going to ask me. I know one song. I think it's Fireworks.
Okay.
It's something with fire.
So apparently, we both acknowledge that BTS is a big deal.
Yeah, we should know.
And the fact that BTS is on this Friends album, and the fact that P announced the album during this interview with the guy from BTS, RM. I guess I'm just going to say RM.
We ask your forgiveness.
There we go. But he also said, which is really interesting, that this is going to be Friends Volume 1. So how many volumes are we getting, P? You can't be playing with our emotions like that, bro. I will be mad.
Too, so let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
Right. I just feel like I will be disappointed if it's just a bunch of songs we've already heard already. If we're going to get Cash and Cash Out down in Atlanta. Yeah. And a couple of these other, maybe a couple of the I Know Nigo tracks or something like that. P, don't let me down, bro. Don't let me down. It's the 20th anniversary clones. You have to.
You gotta do it up.
You gotta go hard, man. You gotta go hard. So I'm expecting big things from that.
Yeah, I'm hitting the prayer mat. Someone's gonna make some shake.
All right, Vogue. So what has been your favorite moment of the episodes from this season?
We had a lot of fun this year.
Yeah.
I have 3 moments that come to mind. One was, I wasn't on this episode, but it was really fun listening to the bracket episode. I actually want there to be more brackets in this podcast series. It's always really funny when you link up with your guys, so it was a fun episode.
Because those guys are characters. All of them. Shout out to my boys. Gramp, Steve, Ray, Mark, Ty, Chauncey, Dave. Who am I forgetting? I can't forget anymore.
Hi guys.
I think that's it. Steve. Did I say Steve? I gotta say Steve. Because he's the main one. He's the main character. But yeah,
The secondary moment was us. Like, I was out of town for something in the water, so I was a little disappointed that I couldn't go. But it was actually really cool seeing how they did. And I said this on the episode. It was really cool seeing how they did it. So if you weren't in town, you still had access and being able to talk about that on the podcast. And I also really enjoyed talking about Justified. And the video clips you found, kind of like chronicling the process. That was something that, like, I think for fans it's really special getting to see those moments, especially something that I've listened to so much.
For sure. I think, this podcast is definitely a cool labor of love for us, and I really enjoy just the fact that people listen to it. And I've said this before, is just crazy to me. The fact that, we started a Twitter and there's people who follow the Twitter and interact when we post stuff. Like, just the fact that there's people who care and want to hear our voices talk about this is dope. I'm just super thankful for the guests that we've had, because we've had some, like, pretty solid people on the show who are, like, not just random folks. Like, we got New York Times bestsellers and
that was a great
GQ
episode.
magazine guy. Shout out to Fraser. Obviously, Tins is a family man he's a member of our family, so having him on the show is great. Speaking of family man, got a baby on the way. Can't wait for my man to get here. He's gonna be born in January. Tins, shout out to Tins and Jade. But yeah, I mean, I'm just thankful for anyone who listens. I'm thankful for the guests of taking the time to spend some time with us and talking about this stuff. I say my favorite moment. I mean, I definitely think that the bracket episode was dope. The Michael Denzel episode about the Clips.
That was great.
The Clips 20th anniversary was dope. My conversation with my man, Mike Fletcher, about, right before he went to Mighty Dream was really cool. Just, I think those 3 episodes are really kind of like my personal story on the podcast, right? Is like those are, like, that's some Virginia shit. Like me and those guys, me and Michael Denzel Smith, me and Tins, me and Mike Fletcher, like, are on here talking about stuff from a perspective of being kids growing up at that time, listening to his music and being influenced by these guys from Virginia, which is, like, very important.
Yeah.
So if anything, like, if that is part of what this podcast does, is give the outside world. I mean, we have people that listen to this podcast in 16 different countries, Vogue. Did you know that?
I did not know that, actually.
It's wild. So if there's people in the Netherlands that are hearing this podcast and hearing me talk about Virginia, like, hopefully they learn. So that's dope too. So overall, I'm just thankful. I'm excited about some of the episodes and the topics, and obviously the anniversaries we just talked about that we're going to try to cover in 2023. We're going to get creative with it. I look forward to having some other really cool guests. I got some tricks up my sleeve. In terms of some people we're going to try to get on the show, which I think are going to really blow people's minds. So
I want you to know I know as much as you do. This is news to me.
There's some people, there's some big names that we're trying to, that could be on the show in 2023 that would be wild. So looking forward to it.
My commitment is to come up with a name for our listeners. We need, like, a listener.
I mean, okay.
You can't use friends because it's already taken.
Right.
Don't think about it too hard. Now we got to unveil it next year.
Right. Okay. That's Vogue's
my
on that.
job.
So
He's
at some point in 2023, you listeners out there will have a name. Oh shit. So how can I talk about my favorite moments from this podcast and not talk about Cheyenne being on here? Like,
oh my gosh,
goodness
right.
gracious.
That was so cute.
Shout out to my mother who were being on the show, celebrating her 70th birthday, which was great. So just forget everything else I said about my other favorite moments. That's the most important moment of this show forever, for all time. All right. Vogue, it's been a great year.
This is fun to do in person. Maybe I'll just, like, come up to Philly once a month.
Yeah. Rachel's about to leave though, but that doesn't mean that I won't be here.
Touche.
Right. We'll be here. We'll be fine. It's been a great year.
It has been.
Let's just also talk about how we said we're going to do 1 episode a month, and we ended up doing, like, twice that.
Yeah.
But a lot of that had to do with just shit came up that we had to talk about, or people that I reached out to finally hit me back, and I was like, let's get you as soon as we can, right? So appreciative, again, like, of everybody who's been listening. Appreciate the people that's been on the show. Appreciate of you, Vogue, for hopping on, man. It's good to see you in person, yo. This is crazy.
I know. I was going to say, I always really appreciate you including me in on the show. Like, this is your brainchild. Just happy to be a part of it. Excited for another year.
It's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
All right, yo. Everybody, thank you. Appreciate you. catch you next Neptune Sunday in the year 2023. Peace and love.
Take care of yourselves.